Hey there, are you in the market for a new Rust base design? And specifically something for a solo, duo, or trio group that doesn't break the bank on resources. Something with a nice roof floor and peak downs, and yet it barely takes up any space. Or maybe you're looking for something with bedrooms and even inner peak downs in the event you get online raided. Or how about 2 vending machine bunkers that even work on console Rust? If this sounds like something for you, then let me introduce you to my newest base, the Tormentor. This insanely strong yet cheap base design can last you for the entire wipe. And with plenty of tricks around every corner, you'll find most raiders just give up halfway through because of how annoying this base is to raid. And as we go through the base, if you enjoy what you're watching and want to show some support to the channel, don't forget to drop a like or even a sub. If we can hit 500 likes on this video, it would mean so much. So back to the video, let's begin by touring the roof. And stick around because you're gonna want to see the open core of this base. Now all 3 sides of this floor have a no build out wide gap peak down which covers all around the base. We also have a jump up to the roof on either side for ankle biter peaks and some nice bedrooms to store an extra kit, as well as a drop down into the core, which we'll tour in just a second. Here's how I've designed the roof floor of this base. It's nicely open and there's plenty of angles for you to fight from, as well as some nice coverage if you decide to take heli. Now with that, let's head back downstairs and have a peek at the core. And although this base has a tiny layout, it's still protected by up to 2 walls from every side of the open core. Opening up both garage doors behind me, we'll see the interior peek down from our bedrooms upstairs. And if we head off to the right and drop down, you'll see the main highlight of this base, which is its 2 vending machine bunkers, nicely separated and unsplashable from any rockets. As I mentioned in the intro, the vending machine bunkers are super easy to place, even for those of you on console Rust. Plus, they're so simple to build because the vending machine is a default blueprint. As you saw in the intro, there's a nice 6-box loot room separating the 2 vending machines. And lastly, our TC is hidden around the back side. The upkeep is on your screen right now. Now I love this starter base because it's a great substitute for the classic 2x1 design, and it's even cheaper than a 2x1. As I build in the walls for our starter base, one thing you'll notice about this video is it's very short for a tutorial. And that's because I've tried to use the cinematic camera a little more and cut out shots that may waste time in a regular video. So this tutorial may seem a little fast for anyone who's newer to building. So that's just my disclaimer before we start, and please stick around for a few minutes and enjoy the video. And if you see anything I could improve in the next one, feel free to give me some constructive criticism in the comments. I really do appreciate it. So with all of that said, let's get back to the video, and here is how I set up all my deployables in the finished starter. And this leads us to our first expansion of the base, which will be adding a 6-box loot room off the left side doorway. Behind the 6-box loot room, we'll place in 3 more triangle foundations, and on the left side, a floor tile coming off of our shelf. Eventually, this will serve as a roof access, but for now, let's head back over to the other side of the base, and we're going to upgrade our entire TC triangle. And then follow that up with these 6 triangle foundations. We'll go ahead and just honeycomb this side of the TC, and next to that we can make our drop down, and I like to use furnaces, but you can also use a half-height floor tile as a jump up. The section to our right can be sealed in simply with walls and roof pieces for now. Don't add any wall frames, door frames, or anything else until we're ready to build in the bunker. The drop down we built in the roof will eventually be our peak down into the core, but for now we can use it as a roof access onto the top of our base. And if you don't have glass windows yet, feel free to use wooden window bars. Just be aware of any door campers when you're coming upstairs from the core. Note that your end goal should be to place garage doors in all of these frames, but if you don't have them yet, double doors work just fine. And I'm also going to place garage doors in all 4 of the frames downstairs as well. For the next step in the video, we're going to get our first vending machine bunker down. You'll notice I've removed everything but those initial 2 large boxes that we placed in the starter, and we're going to upgrade all of the walls, foundations, and roof pieces to metal. Then just build in another shelf and add 2 more large boxes on the left side to complete the loot room. Now, just one quick thing to note before we begin, you're going to want to make sure this middle triangle is upgraded to the regular metal skin, and this is going to make lining up your vending machine much easier. Make sure you rotate the vending machine so it's backside facing you, then carefully center yourself in the foundation and place it right on the inner border of the metal triangle. If everything worked out, you should have a nice gap to see boxes on either side. You can then open it, make sure you disable broadcasting, and rotate it. And if you placed it correctly, you can even fit a single door on the front of it, make sure it swings outwards like this, and you can access all 4 boxes through the border of the vending machine. Just don't forget to rotate it back once you go offline. Now, using the same steps, we'll speed through completing the second vending machine bunker on the opposite side of the base. Don't forget to replace the bags in your core if you haven't already done so. So your base should now look something like this, and with that step complete, we can head around to the back side and do a little bit of honeycombing around by the TC. You'll notice I'm going to upgrade the triangle connected to the TC directly to metal, and the other triangle next to that is just a buffer wall so it can stay stone. Then just repeat these same steps on the other side next to the drop down. And lastly, upgrade the stone wall that's sandwiched in between the 2 metal ones, and then we'll add in triangle foundations to cover up all of the stone foundations underneath. You should be adding a total of 9 triangle foundations, all symmetrical around the base. Now, back up to the second floor, let's add our 4-box loot rooms connected to the windows. They're going to be going outwards towards our front door. And while we're here, we'll add a new door path with our jump up to what will be the roof on the left side. And just a basic door path with wall frames on the right. Next, up on the roof, we'll build a new roof access with 2 wall frames, just like we did on the opposite side for our inner peak down. While we're up here, let's add some honeycombing to the loot rooms that we just built downstairs. Next, we're going to need to add some honeycomb towards the front of the base, as it's looking a little bit weak. So let's go ahead and add metal triangles to either side of these stone walls. On the right side, closer to the roof access, we're going to add a new jump up half wall like this, and to make the jump a little easier, we can add another triangle foundation, which we'll end up using later. This will now be our door path, so let's go ahead and add in some door frames, a window, and wall to seal everything in. And from this point inwards, we're going to replace all the double doors for garage doors. Next, let's do all the upgrades for the upstairs loot rooms. We're going to start by removing the window. We can then rotate the window frame and upgrade everything inside of these boxes. And finish this off with 2 half-height floor tiles as a shelf. We can then throw down all 4 boxes, or 3 boxes and a repair bench with a small box like this. And then of course do the same thing on the opposite side. Alright, now let's do all of the metal and HQM upgrades in the core. Once we've upgraded all of this back section of the drop down, we can finish it off by adding in these low walls to complete the inside peak. Now at this point, let's upgrade anything that's still left stone in the core to HQM. And I'll jump downstairs and do the same upgrades, and you'll notice I'm going to upgrade the TC section all to metal. Just remember to upgrade those back walls behind the TC to HQM. Finally, don't forget to do the 2 walls behind your 6-box loop room and upgrade those to HQM if possible. And if you have some extra resources, feel free to upgrade all the foundations in this room to metal as well. Now, back outside, we're going to look for the 2 high metal walls, and we're going to honeycomb those with triangles all the way up 3 layers tall, and do this on every side of the base. On the 2 of the sides that are open, we're eventually going to have full roof access to the top floor, so for these we can just add some wall frames and make a basic jump up for now. Now, you'll notice there's 3 walls missing on every side of the base, and we're going to get the peak downs ready. So place a wall frame in the middle and 2 walls on either side of it. Then, next to the drop down with our inner peak, we're going to add some ankle biter windows. So for this, on either side, place in a half wall with a window frame on top, and make sure both are facing the hard side towards you. And once you've done both sides of the ankle biter peaks, you can seal in the roof. And don't forget to seal in those 2 roof entrances we made on either side of the base. And until we build in our peak downs, I'm gonna seal everything off with garage doors. Then I'm going to go through the base and I'm going to isolate all of these peak downs with wall frames, separating each one into their own section. We can then split up this middle room into our individual bedrooms, and I'll place a wall in between them, which will be the start of our triangle section for the battery. For my bedrooms, I like to place lockers on either side of the battery triangle, and then I place the beds on the opposite side. And do not forget, when you place in your embrasures, to also place in this triangle floor frame in the jump up, and this will stop anyone from trying to reverse pick into your base. I'm also going to do a few upgrades to the roof tiles, and this is what that should look like when you're all finished. Okay, we're just about done the base, but right now we need to honeycomb the last layer on the outside. Once you finish the honeycomb below your door, you can add a new roof triangle as a jump up. The rest of the honeycomb is pretty self-explanatory, just make sure you only go 1 layer high, and you're going to honeycomb anything that's showing a metal wall and an open foundation. Okay, while we're on the ground, go over to any side with the garage door and let's add in the peak downs. I'd highly recommend upgrading these straight to metal because the frame and foundation alone is the only thing holding up the windows and the floors to the peak. Now, one thing you'll notice about these peak downs initially is that there's a huge gap over here to fall through in the back side, but thankfully we can fix this by adding a wall frame, a floor, and finally a triangle roof, which will nicely seal in this gap and even increase our range of the wide gap peak. And you'll notice I'm upgrading mine to the Brutalist DLC stone skin, but it really doesn't change anything at all. Now just replicate this on the other 2 sides. Now, what I love about this base design is how much room there is to expand on the roof, so you can do whatever roof design you'd like. But here's how I build mine if you'd like to follow my tutorial completely. And that's going to wrap up the entire base. Again, if you enjoyed this video and you like the editing style, please let me know in the comments, and I'll continue to post more, and I can probably post more frequently as well. So thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one.